Hi, welcome to James Miller Lifeology, where you learn to simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. My name is James Miller. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a composer. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's get started. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to this show. When you're done listening, I hope you take a minute and write a quick review on whichever radio or podcast platform you've heard this show. Your insights will help others to be inspired and encouraged. I have a great show for you today. I'm going to help you slow down, get out of your head, and see the beauty all around you. I'll also be interviewing Gabriela Masala, who reviews her book, Everyday Magnificent: Practices to Activate an Unlimited Life. This book is designed to be a 90-day journey to lead you in co-creative, superconscious exercises that unleash the power to manifest whatever wants to come forth. For more information about Gabriela, please visit GabrielaMasala.com. You may also purchase her book on Amazon or in the previous guest sections in both stores at JamesMillerLifeology.com or Lifeology.tv. I have some exciting news. Did you know that I'm on the radio 3 times a week? You may hear me on this same station on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m., Fridays at 9:30 a.m., and Saturday at 12:30 p.m. You may also hear me anytime on iHeartRadio, as well as on all the other major podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and many others. Simply search for the show name James Miller Lifeology, or simply go to JamesMillerLifeology.com. Are you struggling to find your purpose? Has mediocrity set in and you can't imagine doing the same thing for the rest of your life? Are your relationships struggling, or you aren't sure how to make long-lasting changes? Then contact me, James Miller. I will help you recognize the areas in your life that are going really well, and then we will look at the areas in which you're struggling. We will create actionable solutions to help you create long-lasting changes. You don't have to do this alone. Go to my website, JamesMillerLifeology.com, and click on the page Work with James. Fill out that form, and it will be sent directly to me. Don't let another day go by without finding your way. Your change can start today. Once again, go to JamesMillerLifeology.com and click on the page Work with James. Fill out that form to get started today. Getting out of your head. Life happens to all of us. When we look at our schedule, sometimes we can become so overwhelmed because we have so much to do, and it feels like we don't have enough time. When worried, anxious thoughts bombard our mind, what do? How do you find that balance to be able to slow down and take a breath? Your responsibilities will always be there, but when you're able to compartmentalize, in other words, separate everything you have to do and give yourself some time to recharge, you'll find that you're not exhausted. You'll find that you're not overwhelmed. One of the ways to do that is to use your 5 senses. When we become so internal or think about so many things, it causes us to externally go on autopilot, but internally, all that productive energy turns into worried thoughts or anxious thoughts or exasperated thoughts. And in psychology, we know that whatever we perceive to be true, in other words, what we believe is happening or our perception, determines what we feel. What we feel determines what our body does. So if I have all these internal, anxious, worried, stress-filled thoughts, then that causes my body to become anxious, to become depressed, stressed out, which then releases cortisol in my body, or causes me to be very reactive in how I respond to people. So when we use our 5 senses, what we do is we focus on what's around us instead of what's inside of us, meaning our thoughts. One of the most powerful ways to use your 5 senses is to simply go outside. When you can go outside, preferably in a park of some sort, what you do is as you walk through that park, you want to use your 5 senses. And this is called a mindful walk. Use your sense of sight. What do you see? Focus on the trees around you, the people around you. Whatever the scenery is, really take in the detail of that. Then you'll use your sense of hearing. What do you hear? Separate between the different sounds. That allows you to focus on the surroundings. Your sense of touch. Touch the trees, touch the park benches. Feel the wind on your skin. And then you want to try and see if you can combine the 5 senses. So in other words, what do you see and hear at the same time? What do you see, hear, and feel at the same time? And as you continue to combine those senses, you'll get lost in the sensations of your 5 senses, which reduces your stress. Because when you do that, you find that you're focusing on what's outside of you instead of the anxious or worried thoughts. It's a really good balance because once you're done with that mindful walk or that mindful experience, it balances you out from the stress or the anxiety of your workday. The more often you can do this, the more successful you'll be to be able to not get lost in your head, but to be able to experience life around you. I have a fantastic guest today, Gabriela Masala, who's going to talk with you about ways to do that from more of a spiritual side to also help you live a magnificent, beautiful life. I wanted to take just a quick moment to thank you all who continually support and listen to James Miller Lifeology. I have been so blessed and honored by your continual support. However, I want to make sure that you don't miss out on anything exciting that's happening over here. So go to jamesmillerlifeology.com or lifeology.tv and sign up for the free weekly recap. Each week, I will send you an email which has all the latest radio episodes, YouTube episodes, magazine articles, and self-help products specifically for you. Once again, go to jamesmillerlifeology.com or lifeology.tv and sign up for the free weekly recap. Gabriela Masala knew from the age of 3 that her mission in this lifetime was to transform human consciousness, and she's pursued that mission in the fullness of joy and passion throughout her adult life. She's here today to discuss her phenomenal book, Everyday Magnificent: Practices to Activate an Unlimited Life. This book is designed to be a 90-day journey to lead you in co-creative, superconscious exercises that unleash the power to manifest whatever wants come forth. Welcome to my show, Gabriela.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this interview. You know, you have a really great backstory, and I'm really looking forward to talking about your book. But my listeners always know that I love to get the origin story of my guests. In the intro that I just read there, you always had a mission to transform human consciousness. How did that start for you?
That just started by taking a human life. You know, there's a sense of the miracle of what we know if we really remember.
Mm-hmm.
So from my earliest memory, I just have a very clear knowing of looking up at the stars and feeling very deeply connected to a much bigger cosmology of love, of connection.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the origin story, the return to the earth and being here now. Even at an early age, I just knew that why I was here was to love and to impact a transformative movement of love, really.
Oh, that's great. And, and that's one of the things that's, specifically in the world is there's so much divisiveness, so much separation, so much hate. And it's just really sad. It just feels like perhaps because I'm older now, I've recognized it more so than I did when I was younger, but it is unfortunate. So I'm so glad that your mission is to transform people's lives and to really have that mission of love be instilled in other people as well.
Definitely. And it's really about coming home to ourselves, coming home to a sovereign place from where we create reality and how we look at the world, and not believing the programs and the trance that's been given to us, but waking up to that deeper knowing that we all have in our deepest hearts.
And as you continue to have your own journey and become closer and closer to that, to be the person you are today, what were some of the things you did to help you? And I know they're probably in this book as well, but what were some of the things at an earlier age that you did to really help you promote your mission of love?
Well, from a very early age, I'd say probably about the age of 11, I started to devour everything I could that was metaphysical, world religions and spiritualities, embodiment, esoteric. So I really did my work from an early age of study.
It sounds like it.
And even though the dominant paradigm did not support telepathy and psychic skills and being able to be a multidimensional seer, I made an agreement with myself at an early age that I would always stay true and loyal to how I oriented and how I saw the world, which was very different than how it was reflected back to me.
Well, how did you fit in at that time then?
Well, I've by nature always been a really happy being. So great. I fit in really well. I've been a lover of life and, again, by grace, really tended to attract to me a reality where there was a reflection of love and kindness and playfulness and magic.
Oh, that's great.
So I fit in really well, though. Good. That's not to say I didn't have my moments that felt like, wow, how I see the world is so different than how it is shown back to me. And it was sparing, there's those times as we evolve on our journey that there were moments of despair and yet always turning back to the inner life, to the direct line to source, force, mystery as my fuel and also my source from where I was able to even become a friend of the dark, become a friend of those times of despair to catapult even greater into loyalty to my mission.
Yeah. Well, in those dark times is when you really understand how connected you are to your source, or how connected you are to your higher power, whatever you like to call it. But not only that, but it helps you, it also bolsters your mission. It bolsters your ability to say, wow, I'm even more committed to this than I was before. Because if we're not as committed as we think, unfortunately, those dark times, which are brought to us or as a teaching, as a lesson, if we allow them to be a stumbling block, we won't be able to move beyond to the next level. So I'm so glad that you were able to realize that mystery of those aspects, and you turn them into a stepping stone as opposed to a stumbling block.
Definitely. I think those moments can really make clear for us, why me? Not why me from a victim place, but why me? Like, why am I here? And this is something I love to bring forth with all the people I work with, a sense of, why are you here? Why have you taken a human form on the planet right now? This amazing time to be alive in our planetary history, in our kind of cosmological homecoming. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Exciting.
Yeah, and I really love your energy as well. I can tell how excited you are about this. Now let's transition into your book, Everyday Magnificent: Practices to Activate an Unlimited Life. Tell us more about that book.
Yes, so this book culminates with decades of work that I've done as an expressive arts therapist, as a yoga, mindfulness, meditation guide and facilitator, pulls from diverse practices, meditations, energy medicine, dance, vocalization, pulls all of these beautiful activities together within an interactive journal that really becomes a way of life. When someone starts working with it, it's not just a great journal that gets them more deeply connected to themselves, but it becomes a lifestyle and a shift from this lie. I like to call it the lie of separation, that we are matter in a world of matter, and that we are just in this flow that we don't have any co-creative power with, to a potential, a reality that we're actually energy in a world of energy, that there are infinite possibilities, and that we are co-creators, that we are divine creators, that really are able to take a whole life as our work of art.
That's beautiful. Now, what was the need for this book? Like, when you looked around the world and looked around in your own mission, and you're like, aha, this book needs to be written because of this. Why was that?
There were a couple of reasons why I brought this book through. One was because this has been, for decades, the work I've been doing with myself, with my clients, and I see the power of how they are transformed. And I see how it's been, for me as a very creative, engaged, embodied person, that these practices are really practical ways of becoming fully embodied and fully alive to the human potential, ways of bringing mind and heart into coherence in this dance, in this sacred marriage. Whereas when I look out into the culture, I see that mostly the dominant paradigm is very mentally focused and generating reality from a very logical, linear place. And so these practices are about getting out of the box and coming into the circle, coming from separation into wholeness, and having it be a way of lighting up and falling in love with your life by your own design, right? Magnificence by your own design. And when I look at the world culture at this moment, I can't think of a better gift to give than to support people to look within, to know thyself, to light up. And by lighting up, light up the world.
I really like that. Wow, that's exciting. A 90-day journey. What was it about the season or the 90 days that really resonated with you?
Well, there's the power of what a season can do in our lives, what practices that we take wholeheartedly and earnestly really put it to practice, not just my book. As you've seen, the first 20 pages are instructional and activities and overview, but the rest are empty template pages of journal. So it really is not my book, it's your book. It's the book of whomever is really engaging the process.
That's great.
And so it takes a minimum of 21 or so days to really change those habits. But beyond changing the habits, we also want to rewire. We want to get beyond, we want to get into the operating system of the brain, of the subconscious, the unconscious. And so that really takes a season to really get our how we fire and wire, moving in a new way, and there's a clearing out, an unlearning, a deprogramming, and then there's the infusion of now, what do I want to create as I go forward? And I love nature. I love the cycles of nature. I love the seasons, and so that really spoke to me.
Well, the beautiful thing about the seasons is it's so analogous, in other words, so symbolic of our own life. You have the planting time, you have the joy and fulfillment of life, then you have things start to I don't say die off, but they start to end, and then there's that time of that valley that we go through, which is like the winter, and then growth starts again. And so in order to go to the next mountaintop, you have to go through a valley, and so it's the same aspect when it comes to the seasons as well. So it really makes sense that you would use that as a template for you.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things you talk about are the mandalas. What is a mandala?
A mandala is Sanskrit for magic circle. Mm-hmm. And the templates in the book are based originally on Jungian psychology. Mm-hmm. And I've used mandalas in my work for decades with all kinds of people, from corporate teams to couples therapy. And so when we engage the circle, again, outside of the box, we invite everything to come into wholeness. And when we use color, image, symbol, in addition or instead of words, we are able to tap that part of our brain that is not only creative, intuitive, and innovative, but is feeding us from the vast field of potential beyond the logical, linear, limited mind. So it connects us to our unlimited nature. It connects us to infinite.
Yes. And for those of you who do know about Carl Jung, so Jungian psychology is a humanistic standpoint. It's a form of psychology. And in that, Jung actually talked about, in the dreamscapes, that the circle, it represents your spirit, or your consciousness rather. And so in that is something that in your dreams, if you see a lot of circles or certain types of mandalas like this, that is your subconscious really connecting with your consciousness.
Yes. And I love the dream time too, and feel very much aligned that we go to sleep, but we wake up in different worlds. That sense of there's so much of our brain, there's so much of our awareness that we're just beginning to tap and bring online as humans. I actually feel like humanity hasn't actually arrived to the earth all the way. So I get very excited about lighting up our circuitry and really bringing the fullness of our potential and intelligence here.
That's wonderful. Now. Yeah. In this book, you talk about to-be lists instead of to-do lists. Tell us more about that.
Sure. So from the perspective of how do I want to show up today? What do I want to experience? What am I willing to bring into my being state that then will impact everything I do? So it's a reorientation. It's a playful take on the to-do list and the experience that we are not human doings, we're human beings, and that we can bring all of the challenges and agendas of being human and then bring our beingness to it, this multidimensional, energetic, emotionally intelligent perspective. And how do I really want to be? How do I want to show up? And we have so much ability to really bring presence to that, where every life is going to include challenge and suffering. And yet how we show up to it, how we be in that, is such a game changer in terms of how we experience reality.
Yes, it certainly is. One way to even do that is simply saying the word I am, and then those words I am. And after that, what do you fill in the blank with? I am what? And so when you're really mindful of that from just a simple grammatical aspect, you'll realize that what you put after the I am determines your value, determines your worth, determines your future. Because whatever you believe to be true is what you will become.
Yes, indeed. It is true. That's the formula, really.
Mm-hmm. You talk about soul dancing. Tell me more about that. I've actually never heard of that before.
I'd love to tell you about soul dancing. It's a practice that's been developed through my love of shamanic dance, trance dance, ecstatic dance. And for years, I worked as a professional dancer and choreographer.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It's always interesting how our past can come together and transform our future. That's really neat.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. In fact, there was a time that I took my final bow, standing ovation, and said, I will never perform dance again. Oh, wow. And there was this knowing then that dance is a vehicle of transformation. We have these amazing, magnificent bodies that are really miraculous, all of the functions that happen within them. And so when we connect to breath, movement, vibration, intentionally asking to dance from the inside out, it creates such a vital state of health. It creates a natural state of release, a natural state of wholeness, a natural new state of recalibration. Movement is medicine. I think many of us move and know that movement is medicine, but specifically the soul dance connects us to a medicine, I'm going to call it, that is really about bringing the inside of our deepest knowing and the expansiveness of our potentials of becoming into an embodied state. So it's much more powerful than following steps of a dance or being oriented from the outside in.
So for the people listening to this, they may say, okay, well, I've never heard of a shamanic dance before. Can you give us, I guess, a visual of what that would look like?
Yeah. So for those that don't know, shamans are medicine people, men and women from all over the world, many, many cultures and traditions, who are able to tap the multidimensional states of being in order to receive information, insight, create healing, elevate consciousness, you name it. It's a very powerful way in many shamanic states, specifically through shamanic dance, we are accessing the power of movement and dance. So what it might look like for someone like you and me is maybe we use music, ideally instrumental, with a driving beat, and we start to move and let the rhythm carry us, let the rhythm take us. If we think about practices that we know in the First Nations of sun dance or moon dance, these are forms of shamanic dance, of trance dance, where through the repetitive movement of our bodies, the rhythm of our breath, the rhythm of our bodies, our hearts in movement, we go into altered states of consciousness, trance states of consciousness, where healing is available, for insights for the village is available, where support for our clients are available. And ideally, not only is this serving another in the way that a shamanic dance practitioner may use, but for ourselves, it's just, it's a soul shakedown. It's a vibrational uplift. It's an expansion of our field. And then when we release, there's a download of information, insight, support that is specifically by prescription for our life and for our soul's greatest evolution.
That's great. For some people who still may not really know what that looks like, we can think of that from a very, very practical standpoint. Anybody who's ever done yoga before, the asanas, or in other words, the movements that are all linked together, the more you do those, the more you lose yourself in that movement and in your breath, and you feel such a catharsis or a purge, and you can feel your body just relaxing. And then all of a sudden you have this release. And so from a very, very practical standpoint and a very basic, I should say, movement aspect, you will see that those people who've done yoga and have experienced that before, that is what Gabriela is talking about in a very practical way. Now, other people who even have those who run a lot and get that runner's high and just feel so light afterwards, after they get lost in the rhythm of their feet moving, it's the same concept as well. Now, this is going to be more of a spiritual part that she's talking about, but from a very physical standpoint, that is what some of those practical things that people would be able to really resonate with as well.
Yes, you're reading my mind. That's exactly what I was going to say. That natural runner's high. And again, we can all relate to those moments of elation.
Yes.
So whether it's the zone state or being in flow state, those moments where we are additionally embodied, it's the state of elated connection, awareness, presence, and it's embodied. And I think that's the biggest difference that I really love about integrating dance as a practice.
Yes, which I think is phenomenal. I don't think enough people actually really do that. So I'm really glad to hear that you integrate that. Unfortunately, Gabriela, our time is up. I can't believe it. We flew through this interview.
Oh my goodness.
If my listeners would like to find out more information about you and to purchase this amazing book, Everyday Magnificent: Practices to Activate an Unlimited Life, where do they find this information online?
The book is available on Amazon.com, Everyday Magnificent, and it's also available at my website, www.gabrielamasala.com. That's one L in Gabriela.
Excellent. Well, my listeners also know that if they're not able to find your book one more time, Everyday Magnificent Practices to Activate an Unlimited Life, they may go to either store at jamesmillerlifeology.com or lifeology.tv. And in the previous guest sections, it will link them to amazon.com. Gabriela, thank you so much for being a fantastic guest on my show today. I really appreciated your time.
Thank you.
I also want to thank you, my listener, for tuning in today. Please subscribe to this radio show through whichever portal you join me today. Also, please go to my website where you may sign up for the free weekly recap, watch my YouTube episodes, read the articles I've written specifically for you, and purchase my previous guests' self-help products. If you'd like to work with me, be a guest on, or advertise on this show, visit jamesmillerlifeology.com. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms under the name James Miller Lifeology, except for Twitter, which is James M. Lifeology. Once again, thank you so much for your support, and I'll talk to you soon.
AM/FM 247, the best in talk and music all day and every day.